Salut everyone! In this video, I'm gonna talk about Zorin, or should I say Zorin? Yeah, I know, I was terrible. Like, this intro was terrible. But I'm sure this intro is not as terrible as the distro. Yes, I know. This is going to be a really rough review. Let's get into it. As always, let's start with a little bit of context. Guys, I've been watching one of my fellow YouTubers talking about his experience after 30 days switching to Linux. This dude, I won't mention his name, or should I, is called Craft Computing. Okay, I think his name is Jeff. And I was looking at this video and I was like, man, like, how many issues did you get with your machine? Knowing that Jeff is actually really good when it comes to Linux, because I believe he's managing Linux server for his work. And boy, at the end of the video he mentioned that he was using Zorin Linux, and I was like, man, I need to try this distro. And to be honest, like, I've been like surrounded by friends who mentioned this distro to me, and I was never attracted by it. So what I did, like 4 weeks ago, I did a full stream and I installed the full distro and tried it, and then like gather information left and right after the stream. And man, yeah. So let's start with a little description of what really Zorin is. So Zorin, the way they describe themselves is this type of distro that's gonna make your computer faster, easier, more secure, more powerful, more reliable, more everything, right? Their description line is ZorinOS, ZorinOS, is the alternative to Windows and macOS, designed to make your computer faster, more powerful, secure, and privacy respecting. But what is it really? Like what is it? Is it a distro which is based on another distro? Is it like, what is it? And after installing everything, I noticed pretty fast that Zorin is just based on Ubuntu LTS. It uses GNOME. I think he has an alternative using SFC, but we're gonna be just talking about the main version here, GNOME. And the way they market themselves, like, they provide a free ISO, but also a paid version. Should I go, again on the difference between the paid version and the non-paid version? I don't think I will. I think it's really aesthetical. This is what they provide, and also some packages they put within the ISO, like that is delivered right away. But that's what it is. So now you understand the distro. I'm gonna share like a little bit of what make it like really attractive, I guess, for some user, and what also kind of like make it totally not the best for other user like me. So let's start with the positive. So the first point I want to mention is like the installation is at the level of an Ubuntu. It's not bad, it's not hard. I think it will be pretty like accessible. Because it's based on Ubuntu, you're gonna have the surprise to find your bootloader from your boot manager maybe on another partition. So whether you like it or not, the distro is going to be installed on one hard drive, and if you have multiple other hard drives, there is a high chance that the bootloader is going to finish on another one. So it's a Ubuntu problem, but Zorin here did not really fix it. Outside of that, it was smooth, installation went well. I have really nothing to say about it, outside of the fact it's in the positive, because it's super easy to install Zorin on your machine. Another point I also need to mention is the fact that the NVIDIA driver for my RTX 4090 were installed. It was not the latest production driver, but the before latest one, which is fine for me. Like, it's not the latest one, but in this typical scenario, because you don't have the latest one, you are not able to use Wayland with those NVIDIA drivers. But the truth is like because we are on a really like stable type of release, because Zorin is based on Ubuntu, you won't have the latest Wayland that support explicit sync, and you won't be able to really take advantage of the latest driver. So you have the driver you have, and that's what it is. At least they are working, so it's still a positive here. So now the most solid positive aspect, and I would say like argument for this distro, is the theming. And guys, I've been testing the free version, and I have to tell it to you as I saw it during the stream, the theming is wonderful. And when I say wonderful, I will put it in my top 5 of theming ever for Linux. Like this theme, I couldn't even tell I was on GNOME, so I could say like obviously I was on GNOME, but it makes me feel like really like thinking I'm using a Mac. This is a type of vibe they are really trying to get on, and I have to say like they are there. I do understand why some user will fall for it. This is looking really, really good. And the last positive point related to the distro, I made my test like always, gaming and content creation. And for content creation, the distro is solid. I tried DaVinci Resolve. It was, installing nicely. I tried OBS. It was working well on my machine. You are in a space where you use FlatHub. You have a base of Ubuntu, LTS. So on paper, you should be solid. One thing I want to mention though is like one of my buddy made a test of 30 days on it using an AMD card. And he had like huge trouble related to OBS and capturing his screen. So I just want to share that with you. It was not my personal experience, but I've seen some users having this type of problem. And I will get into it in the negative point. You will understand why I'm talking about that now. Now the negative. So it was a pretty smooth transition to the negative. I'm going to talk about the gaming performance. So gaming performance, when you're going to run a benchmark, it's going to be fine. You're going to have like decent performance. But when you're going to get into a game, you're going to notice that the game is not as smooth as other distro, like gaming distro, like let's say, Nobara, CachyOS, or even the distro you will optimize yourself. I'm telling you here, it's for me at least, and my hardware, it's a big no-go. Is it related to the fact that GNOME is very old? I don't know. Is it related to the fact the drivers are not the latest? I don't know. Is it related to the fact that the kernel is also like pretty old? I don't know. What I can tell you for sure is that the gaming performance is not on par to the best distro out there. So if you want to go with Zorin just for gaming, you're not making a good choice here, in my opinion. Now, the point which is going maybe to hurt some of you guys, but I already kind of touch base in the previous one, is related to the fact that these distro come with a lot of I would say mixed packages. Some are really recent, like their version of Mesa, or like the driver from NVIDIA. And on the other hand, you have a GNOME, which is super old, and also a kernel which is super old, and it's pushed with Pipewire. So you can see the team is actually working to kind of give the best of both worlds, from a stable approach and also I wouldn't say rolling edge, but almost really recent new packages. But man, to me it's just a big mess, right? Because in my approach of gaming and also Linux in general, I like when everything is stable or everything is rolling edge. But when you are in the middle right now like that, it can create real mess, and it doesn't really entice me to make some tweak or play with the distro itself, because I'm always scared one of the packages I'm going to install is going to break something else, because nothing is really aligned. It's more their own I would call sauce. So this is really subjective. It's just my 2 cents there, but to me it's a problem. So now let's talk about their business model, and I put it in the negative side here for a simple reason that I'm going to explain. So just before we start on this subject, because I know sometimes money is a, you know, like tricky subject. I have nothing against the fact that a team, a corporation, distributing a Linux distro ask for money. Like I'm actually for it, because I do believe that every type of work deserve any type of, you know, like a reward. What I'm trying to explain here is like I have nothing about the fact they are monetizing their distro and decide to push a paid version of it by adding whatever they had there, because their offer is not really clear and don't want to get into that. But let's say you are a user, you love Zorin, you want to pay for it, go, okay? Where I have a problem with the business model is the fact that they kind of like lock you in. And let me explain how it works. So they have a version free and they have a version pro. The version pro cost, I don't know, like 50 US to have access to it. And it will be locking you in the actual like main version of Zorin. So as we speak, we are in Zorin 17. And because it's a stable like type of like release, I do believe you're gonna have a support until let's say like for 4 years, so 2027, for example. And you paid for this version of the distro. This is fair. But now what happens if you upgrade? Because you have a support until 2027, but you could have an upgrade to, for example, Zorin 18 in 2 years or 1 year and a half, depending on when you purchase your current version of Zorin 17. Well, this is where we have a problem, because I have some of our users who share this feedback, is the fact that if you want to stay on the pro version of it, you have to repay for the license. So I do believe that if you come from the previous version, you're going to have some type of rebate. I don't know, maybe it's 25%, 20%, it's not the point. But like, you're going to have to pay for the next version. At least for that, well, okay, I'm okay. Why not? But the issue is like, what happens if you don't want to repay? And you want to switch to the core version, for example? Well, guess what? You cannot. You cannot switch from Zorin 17 Pro to Zorin 18 Pro. And this is where I have a problem. Okay, I have a problem with the fact that you're kind of locked in. You want to keep your data, you want to keep everything. You don't want to have the headache to migrate from pro to non-pro, because, you know, it's life. Sometimes you want to support, sometimes you just can't, or whatever. I feel like somehow they lock you in there. There is a will, in my opinion, you know, to make sure that if you want to keep your data, well, you're going to have to pay for the next one. And this, guys, I'm just not fan. Okay, it's their right to do whatever they want, you know, but it's just, you know, my fault about their like business model there. It's just not, you know, the way I would like it to be. I think the best way would have been you can give a donation, and with this donation, you can use whatever version of it, like Zorin 17, but the day you move to 18, you still have the choice to downgrade to core or to pay for another one. Simple as that. Like simple as that. So maybe it's something they could implement in the future, and I think it will be more fair. Now, whether, you know, you want to support them or not, I also believe like it would have been maybe nicer from a pure, like, you know, ethical approach to just ask for support versus, you know, creating those two products, which in my opinion are kind of like, you know, discutable. But this is just my approach towards this type of business. I do believe like a support would have been, in my opinion, like just demand for support direct would have been better there. Now, the last point is related to the way they do rebrand some of the open source application. So I want to talk about one of their big like sell point is the fact that you can apparently like start in their operating system called ZorinOS, and we did try during the stream like to install like Notepad++, for example, directly from the exe, which are normally used in Windows. So you will download those installation packages, and Zorin will kind of like install it on Linux, and you will have like this nice experience, like, you know, like without any type of like roadblock when you install it through the operating system. And I have to say, like, it works like that, right? And you go, you double click, he asks you to install like this specific package called Windows App Support, and you install everything. And so during the stream, I was really curious. I was like, wow, this is great. Like, they come with something new, right? And then I went a little bit deeper into it. And what I noticed is that their Windows App Support is just a little application on top of wine and bottles. And what you actually do, you're just using wine and bottles. So they didn't really reinvent the wheel. They just proposed, open source application with a little like application of their own on top of it and rebrand everything. So I guess they can do whatever they want at this level, and I'm no one to judge. But I think from a user standpoint, if you are getting into Linux, you are not really learning what Linux is. You are really like learning how to use Zorin, and that's all. Yeah, and this is the main issue for me, right? Because the way this distro is really marketed is for the new user. And the way they kind of like lock you in their own, like landscape of how they do Linux can be a little bit misleading for people who might want, get out of Zorin at a certain point. And I'm pretty sure you're going to get out of Zorin, depending on your usage, pretty fast. So this is where, I have kind of an issue with the distro. Like, it's just, it doesn't really help you to learn Linux if you are a beginner. The transition is going to be maybe smooth, maybe not. You're going to have the feeling you are using a state-of-the-art Linux distro, but at the end, you're just using a distro with a nice little theme based on Ubuntu and some open source, well-known application rebranded with, a little bit of a little app on top of them. So, yeah, that's for me, that's not it. So, can I recommend this distro in general? I would say no. Like, if you are into gaming, you won't have the best performance. If you are into content creation and this is really like your job and you really like intend to have a stable system, what they propose in terms of like a mix of package between like stable and I would say like recent packages, and could be a mess pretty quick. And we had some example like that of user in my chat who are mentioning that. The fact that if you want to upgrade from a pro version you already paid to a free version, core, whatever they name it, you're gonna have to reinstall everything. Man, I don't know. To me, like it's a lot of negative for a newcomer to get stuck in. That's my point. So you like the theme, you want to support them, go for it, right? Like, they are doing again like a wonderful job when it comes to theming. There is no question about that. But for the rest, it's definitively not the type of distro I can recommend for the specific usage I mentioned earlier. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Sorry if I was a little bit rough on the edge for this video, but I like to share my my impression with you guys. Please let me know what you think. Maybe we have a lot of like Zorin lover here watching this video. Let me know if I said something wrong, or if why you just really love this distro compared to any other one. I would say, like, if you are a beginner, just go with Linux Mint. Try to avoid like any headache, and yeah, that would be my recommendation. On top of that, I would like to thank all the subscribers on the channel, all the people who put a thumb up here in this video and also the previous one. Guys, you are the best. Let's hack this algorithm. And from the one who did that, but also support me financially through my YouTube membership or my Patreon membership, guys, I want to tell you, you are the best. I really thank you. You have no idea how much it helps. I know I always push those messages at the end of the video. Maybe I should put them in the middle of the video. Yeah, because I'm not sure you are watching them. Like, let me know in the comment below if you watched it and if you put the little thumb up. Just for science. And yeah, that's all. So, guys, have a great rest of your day. And as always, see you in the next one. Bisous, bisous.